Hello, everyone. My name is Clara Rossi. I'm 29 years old. 3 months ago, my parents sat across from me, looked me straight in the eyes, and handed me a house that was barely standing. The walls were split with cracks, the floors were soft with rot, and there wasn't even running water. My twin sister, Elena, on the other hand, received the keys to a luxury condo in River North, right in downtown Chicago. Market value somewhere around $365,000. I didn't argue. I took the rusted key they gave me, drove nearly an hour west of the city toward Geneva, Illinois, and started rebuilding that wreck with my own hands. Every board, every nail, every coat of paint. I poured $26,400 of my savings and nearly 580 hours of labor into that place. And when my mother finally came to see what I'd turned that ruin into, she didn't say she was proud. She said, "We're taking it back. It's Elena's now. You have 48 hours." When Elena showed up later with moving boxes, the color drained from her face. But before I tell you what happened next, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if stories like this resonate with you. And tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. I read every single comment. Now let me take you back. It started on a Friday evening in March at my parents' dining table. The same dark mahogany table where every important announcement in our family had been delivered since I was 6 years old. My father, Marco Rossi, stood at the head like he always did. 60 years old, retired regional bank executive, he ran our household the way he once ran his branch, orderly, controlled, no interruptions until he finished speaking. My mother, Julia, sat beside him, hands folded neatly, wearing that practiced smile she used at church fundraisers and PTA events. Across from me sat Elena, my twin, my mirror, my parents' favorite. "We've decided," Marco began, "to give both of you a head start." He slid 2 envelopes across the table, one thick, one thin. Elena opened hers first. Inside was a polished brass key and a printed purchase agreement for a 2-bedroom condo in River North. She gasped. Actually gasped. And then she screamed. My mother jumped up and wrapped her in a hug. They swayed together in the middle of the dining room, laughing, glowing. For a moment, it was just the two of them. I opened mine. One key, brown with rust, and a scrap of paper with an address I didn't recognize. I looked up at my father. "What is this?" "It needs some work," he said calmly. "But you're handy." That was it. No hug, no explanation, just, "You're handy." I glanced at my mother. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She was still holding Elena. And Elena, my twin, the person who shared a womb with me, tilted her head and said softly, "At least you got something, Clara." It sounded kind, but I saw the twitch at the corner of her mouth. That wasn't sympathy. That was satisfaction. I folded the paper and slipped it into my pocket. I didn't protest. I didn't defend myself. I should have, but I didn't. What I didn't know at the time was that Marco had gone through my grandmother Teresa's old land records and deliberately selected the worst property listed. He skipped over 4 livable options to choose the one most likely to break me. Saturday morning, I drove west along Illinois Route 31, past the strip malls, past the last gas station, until the houses thinned out and the trees began pressing closer to the road. The address led me down a narrow gravel drive. When I saw the house, I just sat there in my car. The roof sagged on one side like a shoulder that had given up. 2 front windows were shattered, patched with yellowed plastic. The porch steps were caving inward. Weeds climbed waist-high around the foundation. The entire structure leaned slightly east, like it was tired of fighting gravity. The smell hit me before I even opened the front door. Mold. Rot. Something faintly animal. Inside, electrical wires dangled from the ceiling. The pipes were corroded. The kitchen floor warped beneath my boots. I sat down on the one porch step that felt stable and called Daniel Harper. Daniel, 32, real estate attorney. The only person in my life who has never lied to me. We met freshman year of college. He's the kind of friend who shows up at 2 a.m. and doesn't ask questions. How bad? He asked. Roof sagging, exposed wiring, no water, I said. He went quiet. Do you want me to pull the deed? Not yet. My voice cracked and I hated that it did. I need a minute. He gave me that minute. Then he gave me 5. When I hung up, I stared at the house and thought about my grandmother, Teresa. When I was 9, she taught me how to build a bookshelf in her garage. She placed my hands on the wood and said, "Your hands understand things your head hasn't caught up to yet." I didn't realize then that this moment, this phone call, would end up saving everything. That night, I sat in my truck with a notebook and a calculator. Roof, $12,000. Subfloor and framing, $9,000. Plumbing, $8,000. Electrical overhaul, $8,100. Drywall, paint, fixtures, another $14,000. Total estimate, roughly $51,000. My savings account had $26,400 in it. I closed the notebook, opened it again. Then I started crossing things out. What could I handle myself? Floors? Yes. Drywall? Yes. Paint, obviously. Cabinets, trim, built-ins? That's not just possible. That's my craft. I'm a carpenter, a furniture maker. I've worked with wood since I was 16. I know how to read grain the way some people read faces. I'm good at what I do. But in my family, that was never called a career. To them, I was the twin sanding chairs in a cute little studio, while Elena wore blazers and posted photos from rooftop bars. Monday morning, Elena called. Her voice had that syrupy sweetness she used whenever something sharp was coming. "Oh, Clara, are you actually planning to live there?" "It's mine," I said. "I'll make it work." "You could just sell it," she replied lightly. "Buy something smaller, or rent. You don't have to prove anything." I said I'll make it work. A pause. "Okay," she said softly. "Good luck with that." That afternoon, my mother texted, "Don't waste your savings, Clara. Your father knows best." I didn't answer. Instead, I drove to the hardware store in Geneva and loaded nearly 200 pounds of lumber into the back of my truck. The first week, I ripped out the kitchen floor on my hands and knees. I hauled splintered boards and mold-soaked insulation into a rented dumpster. My palms blistered. My shoulders burned. And that's when I met Mrs. Eleanor Watkins, the neighbor, 68, reading glasses, no-nonsense jawline. She leaned over the fence, watching me haul debris. "That's a lot of work," she said. "Yeah." She brought me a glass of ice water without asking. Then she said something that lodged itself in the back of my mind. "This land used to belong to Teresa Rossi," she said. "That your grandma?" I looked up at her, surprised. "Yes. How do you know that?" She shrugged. "I've lived here 30 years, honey. I know who owned what." I didn't understand the significance of that yet, but I remembered it. 6 weeks in, my savings were gone. Not low, gone. Every dollar I had was now embedded in the bones of that house. New subfloor, fresh drywall, the roof repaired so rain no longer crept in at night. I built the kitchen cabinets myself. White oak, tight dovetailed joints. The living room wall that used to crumble at a touch was now smooth and solid, painted a warm white that caught the afternoon light. But the electrical system was a problem. The original wiring dated back to the late 60s. Outdated, unsafe. I replaced what I could access, but the panel needed a licensed electrician. That meant $8,100 I didn't have. So I ran temporary conduit to stabilize things, safe enough for inspection at a glance, but not permanent. In my notebook, I underlined it twice. Electrical, priority, hire licensed electrician, ASAP. At night, I took freelance orders. Custom cutting boards, a reclaimed oak dining table for a couple in St. Charles, $60 here, $90 there. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept the lights on, literally. Then one Tuesday afternoon, Marco showed up. No warning, no call, no text. He stood in the doorway with his hands in his pockets, surveying the room like a landlord checking on a rental property. He walked slowly through the living room, ran his finger along the fireplace mantel I had restored from the original 1968 surround, opened one of the cabinets and let it swing closed. He didn't say anything for almost a full minute. Then, "Not bad." I waited. Nothing. "What does that mean?" I asked carefully. He looked at me, expression flat, unreadable. I said what I said. And then he left. I stood at the window and watched his car disappear down the gravel drive, and something settled in my stomach. He hadn't looked at the house with pride. He had looked at it like an appraisal. 2 days later, I stopped by Elena's River North condo to pick up a drill I had lent her months earlier. She didn't open the door. "I'm busy," she called from inside. "Just leave it. I'll find it later." But I was already in the hallway, and I saw what was stacked outside her door. 11 delivery boxes, not small ones, designer shoe boxes, garment bags, a flat-screen TV still sealed in foam. The packages were piled so high they nearly blocked the welcome mat. I knocked again. "Elena, I just need the drill." "I said I'm busy." Her voice sounded thin, tight. Through the gap beneath the door, I could see the flicker of a television. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, on a weekday. Then her phone rang inside. She answered immediately, and her voice dropped into that whisper people use when they don't want walls listening. "Mom, I just need more time. The credit card company keeps calling." Silence. "No, I haven't told him. Please don't tell Dad." And then I heard my mother's voice, faint through the speaker. "We'll figure it out, sweetheart. Just don't say anything to your father." I stood in that hallway for 10 long seconds. Then I turned and walked away, quietly. I don't tell anyone what I saw in that hallway. It's not my business. That's what I repeat to myself as I drive away. But halfway back to Geneva, a memory rises up so sharply, it almost makes me pull over. I'm 16. I walk into my grandmother Teresa's kitchen and see Elena slipping cash out of her purse. A 20, then a 50. Teresa is asleep in the next room, the television humming softly. That night, I tell my father, and he turns on me, not her, me. "Stop making up stories about your sister, Clara." I learned something important that evening. In our family, the truth only matters when it comes from the right daughter. Sitting in my truck now, I wonder how deep Elena's problem actually goes and what happens when Marco finds out. 10 weeks after I first stepped onto that sagging porch, the house is almost unrecognizable. New floors, new walls, a kitchen that looks like it belongs in a design magazine, because I built every inch of it myself. I post a few before and after photos on Instagram, my hands covered in sawdust, sunrise pouring through brand new windows. The comments start rolling in. You did this alone? This is incredible! Absolute goals. For the first time in my life, it feels like applause. Not polite acknowledgement, not quiet tolerance, real applause. Then Thursday evening comes, no warning. Marco's car pulls into the gravel driveway. Julia is in the passenger seat. They walk in like they still own the place. My mother drifts through the rooms slowly, touching the walls, opening cabinet doors, running her hand across the countertop I sanded and sealed myself. She doesn't compliment anything. She inventories it. Marco stops in the center of the living room. Your mother and I have been talking. My chest tightens. About what? Elena needs this house. The room feels like it tilts sideways. Excuse me? Julia steps in from the hallway. Her condo, there were complications. She can't stay there anymore. I look at my father. What kind of complications? He ignores the question. The deed is still in my name, Clara. This property belongs to me. You have 48 hours to move out. My hands begin to shake. I press them flat against the counter. My counter. I rebuilt this house, I say quietly. On my land, Marco replies. On my property. My decision. Julia moves closer, her voice soft and rehearsed. We'll make it up to you, sweetheart. This is what's best for the family. I stare at them, my mother, who won't meet my eyes. My father, who has already decided. I don't cry. I don't scream. I say 5 words. I need to make a call. It's 11 p.m. I'm sitting on the kitchen floor I installed myself, my back against the cabinets I built from raw lumber, calling the only person who has never made me feel small. Daniel Harper answers on the first ring. What happened? I tell him everything. Marco's visit, the 48-hour deadline, my land, my house, my decision. Daniel is silent for 3 seconds. Then his voice shifts, precise, controlled. Lawyer voice. Is the deed actually in his name? He says it is. I've never seen the paperwork. Did you ever receive a copy? Any transfer documents? Anything notarized? No. He said he handled it. Well, that's problem number 1, Daniel says. Then a pause. Problem number 2, who legally owns the land? And suddenly something clicks. Mrs. Watkins' voice. This land used to belong to Teresa Rossi. Daniel, I say slowly, my neighbor told me this land used to belong to my grandmother. Used to, he says carefully. Or still does. I don't know. Give me 24 hours. Don't sign anything. Don't move out. Don't respond to your father. Can you do that? I wasn't planning to. Good. A beat. And Clara? Yeah? I've been waiting for you to let me help. His voice cracks slightly on the word waiting, and I realize he's been watching me carry this alone for 10 weeks. He asked about the deed the first day I saw the house. I brushed him off. I told myself I didn't need a lawyer. I told myself family would sort itself out. I was wrong. At 12:30 a.m., my phone buzzes. Marco. Clock's ticking. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I read the message, and for the first time in 29 years, I choose not to make it easier for him. By 9 a.m., I have 17 unread messages. Mom, please don't do this to our family. Let Elena have the house. We'll fix it somehow. Clara, I really need this. I'm in a bad place. Please. Patricia Bennett, my aunt. Your mother is in tears. How can you be so selfish? A cousin I haven't spoken to in 2 years. Family comes first. Don't be that person. They've activated the phone tree. Within 12 hours, the entire network has mobilized, and the verdict is unanimous. I am the problem. At 10 a.m., Marco calls. His voice is calm, cold, the tone of a man who has never lost control inside his own home. If you fight this, he says, you won't just lose the house. A pause. You'll lose your family. I hold the phone away from my ear and stare at the screen. I don't respond to my father. Instead, I turn my phone face down on the workbench and pick up a chisel. I'm in the small workshop I rent behind the Ace Hardware on 5th Street. It smells like sawdust and linseed oil, the 2 best smells in the world. I run my thumb along the edge of the hand-carved chisel my grandmother Teresa gave me when I turned 18. And I need someone to hear this. My whole life, I was taught that family is everything, that you sacrifice, that you bend, that you make room. No one ever taught me that family can also use love as leverage, that control can be wrapped in the word sacrifice, that someone can hand you a pile of rust and call it a gift. Then my phone buzzes. A message in the family group chat. Patricia Bennett clearly meant to text my mother privately. Instead, she sent it to everyone. Julia says Elena owes over $84,300 in credit cards. Marco doesn't know yet. What do we do? I screenshot it. I save it. At 4 that afternoon, Daniel calls. He doesn't say hello. Clara, the land was never in Marco's name. I set down my sander. What? It's held in a revocable living trust, established in 2013. Trustee and grantor, Teresa Rossi. My skin goes cold. He told me he owned it. Either he lied or he assumed, but there's no deed transfer on record. The land and any structures on it belong to the trust, and the sole beneficiary is you. I sit down on the workshop floor. Me? You. I haven't spoken to my grandmother in almost 2 years. Marco told me she was confused, that calling her would upset her. He said it so often I stopped questioning it. I stopped calling. I dial her number with shaking hands. Hello? Her voice is thinner than I remember, but steady. Grandma, it's Clara. A pause. I was waiting for this call, sweetheart. I can barely breathe. I tell her everything. The house, the renovations, the 48 hours. She listens. Then she says, I set up that trust for you. Not for your father. Not for Elena. For you. The year you turned 18. Because I saw how they treated you. I'm crying now. I'm old, she says gently, but I'm not gone, and that land is yours. Grandma, thank you. There's more to tell you, she says, but not over the phone. I'm coming to see you. She hangs up. The next evening, Daniel sits at my kitchen table, the one I built from reclaimed pine, and lays out 3 stacks of paper. Stack 1, the trust deed. Teresa Rossi Revocable Living Trust, filed in 2013, recorded, notarized. Clara Rossi listed as sole beneficiary. Stack 2, every permit, every receipt, every invoice from the past 10 weeks, all in my name. When I pulled permits, I signed as Clara Rossi. The city approved them. Stack 3, the screenshot from the group chat. Elena owes over $84,300. Marco doesn't know. Daniel taps the trust document. Your father has no legal claim. He can't transfer what he doesn't own. He can't evict you from property that belongs to you. The 48 hours? That's a bluff. I exhale. It's the first full breath I've taken in 2 days. So what do we do? Nothing, he says. We wait. He made this claim publicly. The truth needs to come out the same way. I look at the papers, the trust, the permits, the receipts. For 10 weeks, I thought I had no power. The whole time, it was right here. Daniel stands to leave. One more thing, he says. Get that electrical work fixed or documented. Everything needs to be clean. I nod and write it down. But I don't call the electrician yet. There's no time to process any of it, because what Patricia Bennett tells me the next morning changes everything. My phone rings at 8 a.m. Her voice is low, rushed, like she's calling from a bathroom with a faucet running. Clara, listen to me. Your mother is planning a housewarming party. Tomorrow. At your house. My grip tightens around the edge of the counter. A housewarming? For Elena? At your place, she says. She's invited 20 people. She's telling everyone you agreed, that you're happy to give the house to your sister, that it was your idea. Something settles in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Something colder, quieter. Something that's been building for 29 years. Why are you telling me this? I ask. She hesitates. Because I sent that text by accident, and your mother hasn't spoken to me since. And because I've watched this family punish you for being easy to punish. It's not right. It never was. I hang up and call Daniel. It's tomorrow, I say. I'll be there, he replies immediately. And so will your grandmother. She's 79, I say. She lives 3 hours away. She's already on the road, he answers. She called me this morning. My grandmother, 79 years old, bad hip, driving a Buick older than I am. And she's coming. That night, I sit in my workshop running fine grit sandpaper over a scrap of walnut. Back and forth, back and forth. The rhythm steadies my breathing. Have you ever felt your entire family build a story about you? A story where you're selfish, difficult, the one tearing everything apart. And then they invite an audience to watch you play the villain. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. Tomorrow, I walk into that house, either for the last time or the first. I arrive at 9 o'clock. The front door, my front door, the one I stripped and refinished by hand, is propped open with a doorstop I've never seen before. Inside, the house is unrecognizable, not because of decay, because of staging. Julia has clearly been there since dawn. New throw pillows, a tablecloth I didn't buy, platters of food covering the countertops I installed. Pink and gold balloons hang from the archway, and a glitter banner stretches across the living room. Welcome home, Elena. 20 people fill the rooms. Aunts, cousins, my mother's book club friends, neighbors I've waved to but never spoken with. Paper plates, plastic cups, laughter. Like this is normal. Like this is a celebration. Elena stands in the center of the living room, hair styled, new dress, smiling. Marco has his hand on her shoulder, proud father posture, chest lifted. He sees me in the doorway. Clara came to congratulate her sister, he announces loudly. That's what family does. Every head turns, 20 smiles aimed directly at me. They feel like heat lamps. Julia appears at my side with a glass of lemonade. Be gracious, honey, she whispers. This is hard for all of us. Sylvia Bennett, Marco's older sister, pats my arm. Such a generous thing you did, Clara, giving your sister this beautiful home. I look at her. I didn't give anyone anything. The padding stops. Sylvia blinks. Marco's voice drops, low and sharp. Clara, not here. Elena glides toward me, voice smooth. We talked about this. It's for the best. I scan the room. 20 pairs of eyes. Not one of them knows the truth. And every single one of them is looking at me like I'm the problem. Through the window, I see Mrs. Watkins standing on her porch, watching, slowly shaking her head. It happens in the kitchen, my kitchen. Elena follows me inside, and the moment we're out of earshot, her expression changes. You should thank me, she says. For what? I ask. For finally giving you a reason to do something with your life. She leans against the island I built from white oak and brass hardware, inspecting her nails. You'd still be sanding chairs in that little studio if it weren't for me. My jaw tightens. I built this kitchen, I say quietly. These cabinets, that island, with my hands. She shrugs. That's how it works in this family, Clara. I thought you understood that by now. She opens a cabinet. My mother's casserole dishes are already inside, unpacked, settled. Elena pours herself a glass of water from the faucet I installed, takes a sip, and looks at me over the rim. Dad said you can take your tools when you leave. I won't need them. Then she walks back into the living room. I hear Marco's voice rise over the noise. If I could have everyone's attention, please. I follow. He stands by the fireplace, the original 1968 surround I restored myself, raising a glass. To family, he says, and to Elena's beautiful new home. 20 glasses lift. To Elena! I stand in the back of the room. My hands curl into fists at my sides. My throat burns. But I don't speak. Not yet. I'm listening. For something. A knock at the door. Or the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Any second now. I know. And I know some of you are yelling at your screens right now. Trust me. I was screaming on the inside too. If you've ever been the one your family expected to just accept it, to stay quiet, to go along with the story they wrote for you, you understand this moment. Because what happened next is the part they never saw coming. Marco is mid-speech, something about sacrifice, about what it means to provide for your children, and then 3 sharp knocks at the door. Firm, deliberate. Marco frowns. Julia looks toward the entrance. No one moves. I do. I walk across the room and open the front door. Daniel stands on the porch in a gray suit, leather briefcase in hand. Calm expression. Controlled posture. Ready. He gives me a small nod. Behind him, moving carefully up the steps, gripping a carved wooden cane, is my grandmother. Teresa Rossi, 79 years old, silver hair pinned back, eyes steady and sharp. Marco's voice cuts through the room behind me. Who invited you? Daniel steps inside. No one, he says evenly. I'm Ms. Rossi's legal counsel. She doesn't need a lawyer, Marco snaps. This is a family matter. With respect, Mr. Rossi, Daniel replies, placing his briefcase on the dining table. Property transfer is a legal matter. The room goes silent. 20 guests, frozen mid-bite. Elena's smile disappears. Then Teresa walks fully into the house. I take her arm. She squeezes my hand once, not looking at me. Her eyes are locked on Marco. She scans the room slowly. The balloons, the banner, the trays of food sitting on countertops I installed. Her gaze settles on the glitter sign, Welcome home, Elena. She turns to my father. The entire room seems to hold its breath. Marco, she says quietly, whose land do you think this is? He opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. Teresa pulls out a chair and sits. Sit down, son, she says. You're going to want to sit for this. Daniel opens his briefcase. The click of the metal clasps echoes through the room. He removes a bound document, stamped and sealed, and places it on the table where everyone can see the county insignia. "If I may have the room's attention," he says calmly. "This property, the land and all structures on it, is held in the Teresa Rossi Revocable Living Trust, established in 2013. The sole beneficiary is Clara Rossi." Marco takes a step forward. "That's not possible. My mother gave me—" "I gave you nothing," Teresa interrupts, her voice steady and razor-sharp. "I allowed you to use the address for mail. I allowed you to assume what you wanted, but I never transferred the title. It was never yours." Daniel continues, "Mr. Rossi, you hold no deed, no title, and no legal authority to transfer this property to anyone. Additionally, every permit, contractor invoice, and material receipt for the renovations completed over the past 10 weeks is filed under Clara Rossi's name. The county recorder's office can verify each document." Julia's voice breaks. "Mother, how could you do this to us?" Teresa turns to her. "I did this for Clara," she says, "because you two wouldn't." The shift in the room is almost physical. 20 people who arrived expecting a housewarming are realizing they've been invited to witness a lie. Sylvia Bennett looks at Marco. "You told us this was your house." Marco doesn't respond. His face is red, tight. Teresa speaks again, her voice quieter now but clear enough for everyone to hear. "I set up that trust the year Clara turned 18. Because I saw how you treated her, Marco. I saw it, and I planned ahead." No one moves. No one speaks. Then Elena steps forward. Her hands are shaking. For the first time all afternoon, the composure she wears like armor begins to crack. "This doesn't change anything," Marco snaps. "Elena, be quiet." "No!" Her voice rises, sharp and desperate. "I need this house. I don't have anywhere else to go." The room goes still. Not whispers. Silence. Marco turns slowly. "What do you mean you don't have anywhere else?" Elena's eyes fill. "The condo. I lost it. I couldn't keep up with the payments." He stares at her, then at Julia, who's clutching a dish towel like it's keeping her upright. "You lost the condo?" Marco says carefully. "The one I bought 3 months ago?" Julia's chin drops. "I was going to tell you." "You knew?" The room cracks open. 20 people watching Marco's face move through shock, betrayal, anger. Elena crying now, real tears, mascara running. Julia reaching for him. He jerks his arm away. Patricia looks at the floor. Sylvia quietly says, "Maybe we should all go." Coats are grabbed, keys jingle, murmured goodbyes. No one looks at Marco. No one looks at Elena. They look at me. Quick glances, then away. I'm standing in the corner, my grandmother's hand in mine. Marco turns to me. His voice is jagged. "You planned this." I meet his eyes. "No, Dad. You planned this. I just showed up." The house empties. Paper plates on the counter. Half-eaten casseroles. A balloon drifts across the floor. Marco and Julia sit on the sofa. My sofa. The one I reupholstered myself. Elena is outside somewhere, crying in her car. Daniel steps forward and holds out a white envelope. "Mr. Rossi, this is a formal cease and desist notice. You are not to enter this property without Clara's written consent. Any attempt to claim ownership, change locks, or issue threats will be documented and forwarded to the district attorney's office." Marco doesn't take it. Daniel places it on the coffee table. Everything is recorded. The trust, the permits, the law is clear. Julia looks at me, eyes swollen. Clara, please. Please what? I ask gently. Please be the easy one again? I don't say the rest. What I say is, Mom, I love you. But loving someone doesn't mean letting them take everything from you. Her face crumples. Marco stands. He doesn't look at me, or Daniel, or his mother. Teresa speaks one last time. You could have been proud of her, Marco. That would have cost you nothing. He walks out. Julia follows. Gravel crunches. The car starts. Silence. Daniel rests a hand on my shoulder. You okay? I look at the crooked banner, the sweating lemonade glass on the mantel I restored. Not yet, I say, but I will be. That evening I changed the locks myself. 4 screws, new deadbolt, the brass handle I'd been saving. My hands don't shake, it's just hardware, but it feels permanent. Mrs. Watkins comes over with a pot of yellow chrysanthemums. I always knew that house was yours, she says. Your grandparents built it together in '67. I watched them haul the lumber. I was 17. I let that sink in. Their hands on this frame. My grandmother's trust protecting it decades later, and now mine finishing it. I pull down the banner, pop the balloons, sweep the floors, pack leftover food for Mrs. Watkins and her neighbor. Then I sit in the center of the living room, the room I rebuilt from bare studs. The silence is different now. Not fear, just quiet. My phone buzzes. Daniel, get that electrical done. Seriously. I call the electrician. Book Thursday. While clearing Julia's things from the hallway closet, I find something tucked behind a coat. A yellowed envelope. No stamp. Hand-delivered. The handwriting is Teresa's. My dear Clara, your grandfather and I built that house together in 1967, the summer we married. I always meant for it to go to someone who would love it the way we did. It was always meant for you. The letter is dated 5 years ago. Marco hid it. 5 years of my grandmother's words stuffed behind someone else's coats. I pressed the letter to my chest. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. 1 week after the party, Sylvia Bennett stops answering Marco's calls. She tells Patricia she's embarrassed to share his last name. Cousin Katie, the one who always sat beside me at Thanksgiving, calls me on a Tuesday night. I always felt like something wasn't right, she says. I just didn't know what. Nobody asked, I tell her. I'm sorry no one stood up for you sooner. Marco's position as honorary elder advisor at Grace Lutheran Church, a role built on the image of devoted father and family man, disappears without ceremony. No announcement. His name simply vanishes from the weekly bulletin. Julia goes silent on Facebook. No more family portraits. No more blessed to have my girls. Her profile picture becomes a sunset. Elena gets her first call from collections. Then another. Without Marco and Julia shielding her, the $84,300 in credit card debt sits squarely in her name. One morning, Mrs. Watkins tells me, your father stood outside last Tuesday. 10 minutes, just looking at the house. Then he drove away. I don't know what to do with that, so I file it away with everything else I'm not ready to feel. Then an email arrives. A reporter from Homestead and Craft magazine found my renovation photos on Instagram. She wants to feature the house. She wants to know who did the work. The work my father once said wasn't a real career. Marco calls that Thursday afternoon. I'm in my workshop cutting a mortise joint when his name flashes on my screen. My hands go still. We need to talk, he says. His voice isn't soft. He doesn't do soft. But it's worn. I'm listening. Your grandmother isn't thinking clearly. She's old. She doesn't understand what she did with that trust. I close my eyes. We should contest it, he continues. The family should have a say. I'll get a lawyer. You can try, I say evenly. But she set up that trust with her own attorney. It's notarized, recorded, active for over a decade. She's competent, you know that. Silence. I'm your father, he says finally. That land should have been mine. It was never yours, I reply. I set down the chisel, and neither am I. The line goes quiet for so long, I check to see if he's hung up. You're making a mistake, he says at last, the same tone he used when I chose carpentry over banking. No, I answer calmly. The mistake was believing you'd treat me fairly. That's over now. I end the call. It doesn't feel powerful. It feels like pulling out a splinter that's been festering for years. Necessary. Painful. Overdue. Setting boundaries with someone you love isn't triumphant. It's quiet. It's lonely. Sometimes the bravest word you can say is simply, enough. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, I'm sealing a window frame when I hear a car pull into the gravel drive. The engine cuts. The door doesn't close right away. Elena walks up the path, no makeup, hair tied back, oversized gray sweatshirt. She looks older, tired. She stops at the bottom of the porch steps. I'm not here to ask for the house. I set down the brush. Then why are you here? I don't know how to fix my life, Clara. No sweetness, no performance, just exhaustion. I owe $84,300. The collection calls start at 7 every morning. I haven't slept in a week. For the first time, I don't see the golden child. I see someone who was handed everything and taught nothing. I can't fix that for you, I say gently, and I won't. She nods. But I can give you the number of a financial counselor Daniel recommends. The rest is on you. She wipes her face. At the bottom step, she pauses, pulls a small cardboard box from her bag, and sets it on the railing. I'm sorry, she says, for the kitchen, for all of it. I meet her eyes. I hear you. I don't say I forgive you, because I'm not there yet. And forgiveness doesn't run on anyone else's timeline but mine. After Elena's car disappears down the gravel road, I open the box. Inside are 2 thin silver bracelets. My grandmother gave them to us when we were 8, one for each twin. Elena kept both for 15 years. A month later, there's a photographer standing in my living room with a DSLR and a reflector board, and I think, this is the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. The reporter from Homestead and Craft magazine is named Dana, early 40s, direct, efficient. She moves through every room, studying the trim, crouching to inspect the dovetail joints, running her hand along the restored fireplace surround. Who did the millwork? She asks. I did. And the floors? Me. The cabinetry? Also me. She looks up. Who taught you to build? I smile. My grandmother. The article runs 3 weeks later. From ruin to remarkable. How one woman rebuilt a 1967 home by hand. 4 pages, 12 photos. The kitchen before and after gets the center spread. Mrs. Watkins appears in one shot, leaning on the fence, holding up lemonade like a toast. Within a week, I receive 3 custom commissions. A dining table, built-in bookshelves, a nursery crib in white ash. My workshop finally gets a name. Rossi Woodworks. I hang the sign myself. Daniel calls. Trust is fully recorded. Title insurance is complete. No one can touch it. Thank you, I tell him. That's what friends are for, he says. Then, please tell me you fixed the electrical. I actually laugh. Full panel replacement. Inspection passed last Thursday. Good. That weekend, the downtown community center emails me. They want to know if I'll teach a woodworking workshop for women. I say yes. The class fills in 3 days. In May, Teresa comes to stay for a week. She arrives in the Buick with a flat of marigolds, potting soil, and a photo album I've never seen before. We plant flowers in the front yard together, side by side on our knees. She tells me this is where she and my grandfather planted their first garden in the summer of 1967. Your grandfather would have loved what you did with the kitchen, she says, pressing soil around a seedling. I found your letter, I tell her. The one Dad hid? She doesn't look up. I wrote 3, she says quietly. He hid all of them. 3 letters. 3 times she tried to reach me. 3 times Marco decided I didn't deserve to hear from her. When the sun drops low, we sit on the porch I rebuilt. Mrs. Watkins brings lemonade without asking. It's become a ritual. The new neighbors wave from across the road. I wave back. Teresa squeezes my hand. The best revenge isn't revenge, she says. It's the life you build after. I look at the yard, the marigolds, the fresh paint, the house that was a ruin 4 months ago. I didn't receive fairness from my family, so I built it myself, with oak, with sweat, with the truth. I know, Grandma. She nods. I know. A week after she leaves, I sit at the desk I built from reclaimed cherry, the first piece I ever sold, and write an email. Mom, Dad, I love you. That hasn't changed. But I won't accept being treated as less than. I won't be the daughter you take from to give to someone else. If you want a relationship with me, it begins with respect. Not control, not obligation, not guilt. I'm not closing the door, but I'm choosing who walks through it. Clara. I hit send. There's no reply. Not that day. Not that week. And for the first time, I'm okay with the silence, because this silence is mine. I chose it. Friday evening, I sit in the living room. The house is quiet. Through the window, I can see Mrs. Watkins' porch light glowing, the marigolds in the yard, the gravel road that leads into town, where 3 clients are waiting on furniture I designed. In the top drawer of my workbench sit 2 silver bracelets, the ones Elena returned. I don't wear them, but I haven't thrown them away either. Maybe one day they'll mean something different. Not today. I look around this room. Every surface carries a memory. The floors my knees remember. The walls my shoulders ached over. The cabinets shaped by hands my grandmother once guided. This isn't the house my parents handed me. That house was a warning, a punishment, a message that said, you are worth less. This house is the one I built, and I'm the one who decides what it means. I don't know what happens next with my family, but I know what happens next with me. For the first time in 29 years, that's my decision. When I started telling this story, I thought the house was the point, the renovation, the trust. The moment Marco's face went pale in front of 20 guests. And yes, all of that mattered. But sitting here now, on a porch my grandparents built and my hands restored, I understand something else. The house was never the point. The point was, the moment I stopped waiting for my family to recognize my worth and started building it myself. For years, I was the easy one, the one who folded, the one who absorbed everything and called it love. I thought keeping the peace meant I was at peace. It doesn't. It's just silence with a prettier name. When I look back at everything that happened, I realize this story was never just about a house. It was about my worth. For years, I believed love meant endurance. It meant being the easy one, the quiet one, the one who bends so no one else has to. I thought keeping the peace was the same thing as being at peace. But peace without respect isn't peace. It's permission. The ruined house they handed me wasn't just cracked walls and rotting wood. It was a message. This is what you're worth. And for a while, I almost believed it. Until I picked up a hammer. Until I stopped waiting for someone else to recognize my value and started recognizing it myself. What I want you to understand is this. Boundaries are not rebellion. They are self-respect. Saying enough isn't cruelty. It's clarity. You can love your family and still refuse to let them define your worth. You can step away from manipulation without losing who you are. And sometimes, the bravest thing you will ever build isn't a house. It's a life where you no longer ask for permission to exist fully. If this story resonated with you, tell me in the comments which moment stayed with you the most. I read every single one. Share it with someone who might need the reminder that they are not alone. And remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to listen to more fascinating stories. And until next story.